We talk now about the next topic, whether doctors should warn their patients about climate change. 0207 862 2222. New guidance has said doctors should raise environmental concerns during consultations and repeat them often. The Royal College of Physicians has also called for doctors to consider remote appointments and cut back on prescriptions and blood tests to reduce the impacts of climate change. They're also being told to look out for signs of eco-distress. So that is a separate thing. That's where somebody becomes very anxious because they are worried that the planet's blowing up. Critics have branded the advice virtue signalling, and they've said it could lead to missed diagnoses. The Royal College of Physicians said reducing climate change and its health impacts would reduce pressure on the NHS in the long term. Reem, what do you think?
I think this is ludicrous. I think it's a waste of doctors' time. And I think ultimately we seem to be catastrophising the climate crisis consistently. I do think that climate change is a very, very serious issue. But I'm very positive about the fact that we can achieve greatness and we can actually solve this crisis through technological advancements that are only possible through the free market. Ultimately, what we're allowing to happen is doctors to be wasting their time by actually encouraging, and I actually think we talk about climate anxiety, climate stress. People my age are saying they don't want to ever have children because they are worried about climate change. Allowing doctors and encouraging doctors to use their precious time to actually talk about climate change would only encourage and worsen and exacerbate that kind of anxiety.
I suppose, I'm trying to think of an example. Someone turns up at the doctor's surgery in a really old banger, smoking, and the doctor says, look, mate, you might want to think about getting a new car. Is it something like that, Owen?
I think we should not treat doctors as though they're stupid. I don't really think they're going to suddenly just stop doing their jobs in GP surgeries. I think they are generally wise, informed health specialists who know what they're doing and know how to communicate with their patients. I really do think the climate emergency is a potentially existential problem. And look, it's going to be that it is the biggest long-term health emergency that we face.
But Reem says we're catastrophising.
Well, I don't agree with that at all.
Turning it into like it's a film with an ending.
What we need to do in these circumstances is defer to what is known as the consensus. So you've got a scientific consensus. These are the experts on questions to do with climate. The idea is basically after a certain amount where the global temperature raises above what it was before the Industrial Revolution, that will cause, and is causing already, catastrophic weather events, heat waves, people dying who wouldn't die otherwise, famine, drought, heat waves.
You'd be happy for doctors to say that if they can get it into the conversation.
It's estimated in this country that by 2050 we'll have an excess of 250,000 deaths because of it. The fact is, at the moment, I know people go, oh, well, what's the weather like at the moment? Overall, when we have had a massive increase in extreme weather events, heat waves, I know our summer's not exactly great, but globally, every year it's hotter than ever and people are dying as a consequence. We need to... What they're doing here is also wise ideas like where you don't need to come in person, you have consultations at home. Pollution overall kills more people globally than cigarettes.
I think the point is, and I think that Owen's right, the fact that climate change is very different to specific weather. Sometimes it's raining in
or
July,
pollution, actually.
And again, pollution is very different. But I think that this idea, I believe in people, and I believe that we are able to adapt to different weather changes. And I think this idea that actually we're all going to die in 30 years is so dangerous.
No one's saying that. No one's saying that.
Okay.
No one's saying that.
We've got a very overpopulated world, so I guess we're going through a cycle of some kind, haven't we? So
I don't believe that the world is overpopulated at all. I think the entire population of the world, can fit into France alone. I mean, we've got so much space that we can build on. We've got so much infrastructure that could happen if we allowed it to. And actually, it's usually governments that are in the way of that.
All right. I stand corrected. Sarah in Surrey, hi.
Good morning.
What do you think? Should doctors just drop a word in to say, let's say somebody's been, I don't know, has got a massive tan. They've been abroad 16 times this year, and the doctor says, you really thinking about your carbon miles?
Well, I have a couple of points to make from both sides, actually, so I'd appreciate being able to make those points. Firstly, from a doctor's point of view, doctors are saying, I don't get enough time with my patients.
True.
We don't have enough doctors. From a patient's point of view, you are lucky if you can get a face-to-face appointment with a doctor.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that yet.
I personally had to wait 3 weeks for the first available telephone appointment.
Ridiculous. And what was that for?
So well, I'd rather not say.
No, OK. But, I mean, if it's something urgent like a migraine...
Well, it was because I then had a face-to-face appointment that afternoon and subsequent things. But that's irrelevant,
no, but
my situation.
But you were in need, yeah.
Yeah, but if you do manage to get a face-to-face appointment, you have 10 minutes. If you have more than one thing you want to bring up, you have to make a separate appointment.
I know.
If I can finish, I don't want 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes taken up with talking about the climate change.
All right, Sarah, thank you.
We understand that.
Gotcha. That's a very good point. I think it's 9 minutes, actually, as well, not 10. Sharon in Staffordshire, hi.
Good morning, Jeremy. I love your show so much. And your wonderful
thank you for watching, Sharon. Thank you.
Now, Jeremy, I need to say that if I eventually get an appointment with my GP, I don't expect my GP to be going on about climate change. I expect my GP to be talking about my medical condition.
Yeah, I think this is
Not
going to be
climate change or anything.
I hear you completely, and I think this will be a lot of people saying, don't even... You go into the doctor, you've been waiting 2 weeks, before you sit down, you say, wait a minute, don't even think about mentioning the weather. Don't even think about it. I'm talking about my liver.
Yeah, the fact of the matter
is that right, Sharon?
Absolutely, Jeremy, absolutely.
Everyday people that are going to be going to the doctors, and actually the fact of the matter is it's so difficult to get an appointment in the first place. You don't want to be lectured by your doctor. That's one side of it. The other side is actually it's quite dangerous. I mean, if you've already got anxiety and you're already suffering from that kind of thing, actually being told that you're specifically going to be hurting the climate and actually making the world a worse place, I think that's quite a nasty thing.
But also, look, I think, again, we're treating doctors as though they're thick here because no one knows more about questions of pressure on doctors' time than doctors. This has been proposed by doctors.
Or patients.
All
the patients are the ones who can't get appointments,
doctors
right?
should be... Well, doctors are frustrated that they can't do their job properly. Everybody knows that. That's there on the front line.
The doctors' list is full every day.
Yeah, but they are basically... You should see the...
Because the NHS is broken.
Well, you should see doctors as... We agree on that. Public health representatives. They're there to inform patients of all the dangers that exist to people's health in order to reduce the threat that those dangers pose.
It's a good argument. Vicky on Twitter says, as a mum whose son has anxiety, a warning like this would send him into a tailspin. He is aware of climate change. We are doing what we can. But for others with anxiety, this can trigger them. Grace on Facebook has said this: some of the world's poorest people are suffering unimaginably because of phenomena exacerbated by climate change. We've got to take it more seriously. So, all right, we'll leave it there. But thank you for your calls. Nice to talk about it.